how the transgender tentacles are spreading out and permeating through our culture, and why that is rotting our country from the inside out. Good morning and welcome to the Shielded Prepper. This channel is committed to information that expands a prepared mind, and it's a pleasure to be with you this morning. I'm looking at the computer screen and I'm looking at all these different articles, and I'm flip-flopping between different places where I like to glean information from. And there is one resounding story about everything right now, which is this massive culture movement of transgenderism. It is culturally connected to everything that's happening in our media right now. And we're following this little by little, and it's expanding, and it's, for some reason, all my eyes see. If that's all you see sometimes is the reprobate and perverse side of this transgender movement, would you put it in the comments and give me a thumbs up and tell me if you're seeing the same thing? Maybe it's AI, and all I'm seeing on my computer screen is all these transgender conversations. Yet, I know we've beaten up on Bud Light a lot, yet I've got some buddies. I've got an article. I'm just reading about these this morning. They were hardcore Bud Light drinkers. This is all they drank. And I feel badly for them because they probably had to switch to Coors or something else, and they miss their Bud Light, and they go into their grocery store and they see stacks of it and pallets of it, and their mouths probably water for it, and they won't buy it. That's how committed they are. This is the line. This line is dividing our country almost greater than politically. This side of the transgender movement it's a rot. It's a rot. And it's really, we live in a country where you're free to do and say what you choose to do. They're trying to tell us different right now, yet we are free to choose and say what we want. We can live the life we want. If you desire to live a sexually promiscuous life, you can choose to do that. And there's problems that come with all of our decisions in life, yet there's also benefits and blessings that come with our decisions in life. And I intend on raising our children and living a life that creates blessings, and you should too. So I bless you with that. Okay, so reading about Bud Light this morning, I'm not even going to talk about that other than I feel bad for some of my buddies, and I bet you probably have buddies that also do that. And Meta is going to take one hot on the chin right now. Instagram they're coming out with more research, and these are independent researchers, and this particular journalist out of the Wall Street Journal had an exclusive on how Instagram connects this vast pedophilia network. And I'm just going to touch on this one time. And I don't even know if I'm allowed to say pedophilia. I don't know. So YouTube will probably tell me, right? Yet I just intended on reading. This is out of the Wall Street Journal. This is not me saying anything. This is just what they said. And it says pedophiles, the lowest rung of the rung, the ones that are trying to make their way up into society as their own class of people. Pedophiles have long used the internet to satisfy these fetishes. It's the path of least resistance, and we know this. Pornography is a rot, not just from pedophilia, which is the most extreme, vile, nasty stuff. Yet pornography in general is very vile, and it's warping the understanding of sexuality in our country, especially for our young children that are interested and they're gravitating. There's so much being shoved in front of their faces. They don't know which way to go. Pedophilias have long used the internet, and unlike the forums and file transfer services that cater to people that have interests in illicit content, Instagram doesn't merely host these activities, its algorithms promote them. AI is smarter than the users that created Instagram, for example. We use them. Artificial intelligence knows the gravity. It's already studying what people are looking for, and it knows that there's this category of people that enjoy this illicit information. This algorithm is promoting it, and Instagram connects pedophiles and guides them to content sellers via recommendation systems that excel at linking those who share niche interests. This is a niche interest. This is depravity. It's so bad. It's so evil, and Instagram's algorithms are promoting this. And those niche interests are part of a subsection that's growing, and it's becoming easier, and the pathway is becoming wider, and the doorway is becoming wider, and more therein will go. If you know what I'm talking about, we know this is going to lead to damnation. This was written, if you want to read it, it's in the Wall Street Journal. It's just Instagram connects a vast pedophilia network. You should read this stuff. This is uncomfortable to even know, and I'm not going to spend any more time on it because I'm probably going to get some weird strike or something if you say the word pedophilia. Yet, here's what I know. I'm telling us we must guard our children and our eyes. We will never, Scripture says we'll never get tired of seeing, and we'll never get tired of hearing. Those are things that don't fatigue. They're easy. They really don't take much to listen and to watch. And our eyes are a window to our soul. All right, this really, the whole intention for today was to get down to this article about puberty blockers. And it was interesting how they're positioning the effects of this. And the FDA hasn't approved them for gender dysphoria. So the FDA hasn't even had a chance to really go through these and do all their clinical tests and all this stuff. Yet there are loopholes that they're using right now to administer these gender dysphoria drugs. And their effects are serious and they are permanent. The fashion, and I really, let's connect this to fashion. This is a fashion movement. I believe so, both physically as well as how they dress. This is a fashion movement. The fashion for transgenderism has brought with it a new euphemism, gender affirming care, which means surgically and pharmaceutical interventions designed to make the body look and feel more like the opposite sex. Now, when we look and we feel a certain way, it comes through our thoughts first. Before we can have an emotion about anything, we have to think about something. This is how special we are. This is how our bodies are made. That chemically, that as our thoughts begin upstairs, it releases hormones and chemicals into our body that make us feel a certain way. Tactile. It's like when you're standing here, you don't feel your clothes, and as soon as you move around, your clothes reappear and you feel them on your body. Our bodies know how to ebb and flow when it comes to the way we feel. Our thoughts produce emotions, our emotions produce actions, our feelings produce actions, and our actions produce a result. And that result produces new thoughts. And it just goes over and over like that. Gender-affirming care for children involves the use of puberty blockers, one of the 5 powerful synthetic drugs that block the natural production of sex hormones. The Food and Drug Administration has approved those medications to treat prostate cancer. So these are the things that FDA has approved gender-affirming care. Some of these specific drugs for prostate cancer, endometriosis, certain types of infertility, rare childhood diseases caused by genetic mutilation. Or genetic mutilation. That's kind of what they're doing, is mutilating. But mutations. And it has never been approved for gender dysphoria. And this is something that they're using because it kind of works the same way. And they're giving this out so freely, and countries are standing up against this. Thus, the drugs led by Avilupron are prescribed to minors off-label. So because it's considered off-label, meaning they do not have to go through the FDA. It's being recreationally used is what it is. And because they're off-label prescribing this and the consumer is accepting it, it relieves these pharmaceutical drug makers from any of the liability connected through the FDA. They're taking the liability off them, and they're pumping this out and pumping it out, and it's growing in our country. They also use this for off-label for chemical castration for repeat sex offenders. So they're giving the same drug that they chemically castrate sex offenders with, pedophiles, many of them, or those that are nefarious in that area, to chemically castrate them. So we know to make them sterile, to make them unable to produce offspring. And we're doing this to our children, and they're able to walk into these clinics and be able to do this themselves. And it's wrong and it's mean. Proponents of puberty blockers contend there is little downside. So these are proponents of it. The Department of Health and Human Services claims puberty blockers are reversible. It omits that evidence, though, and it doesn't contain a lot of that evidence how they're producing. They're just saying it's reversible. These drugs effectively lock children and young people to a treatment pathway, most of them for the rest of their lives. If they start this young, they're going to have to be on this, because then the body's going to start to replace these chemicals. And if they don't stay on them, their bodies are going to go through wild changes well past puberty, when their bodies are not flexible and bendable and moldable still. This is where the concrete's not hardened yet. They cannot carry a heavy load. These young children at 11:11 on this video, the concrete is not hardened. You cannot put a heavy load on these young kids and chemically castrate them basically at a young age and not expect there to be issues later on in life. They're not doing it. Gender advocates also falsely contend that puberty blockers for children and teens have been used safely since the 1980s. As a recent scientific American article put it, that ignores substantial evidence of harmful long-term side effects that they won't see until they're our age. So if they're 15, when they're in their 40s like me and they have gray hair and they have to, move differently, it's going to really affect a huge portion of our population, these young people that are in this right now. The Center for Investigative Reporting revealed that in 2017 that the FDA had received more than 10,000 adverse event reports from women who were given Lupron off-label as children. So they were given them as children to help them grow taller. They reported thinning of brittle bones, teeth, the shed of enamel, cracks, degenerative spinal discs, something connected to bad joints, radical mood swings, seizures, migraines, social anxieties and suicidal thoughts, fibromyalgia, and significant fertility problems and cognitive issues. 10,000, which is what was reported to the FDA. Yet these are just some of the 10,000. So this is going to happen in a huge way. And for 10,000 adverse reports to come in on this drug, for women that were given it at a young age and later on in life, they're dealing with all these side effects, we have to be guarding and protecting our children. We have to. Still, the U.S. and most European countries embrace a standard of care that pushes youngsters towards gender-affirming treatments. It circumvents watchful waiting and and therapy and diagnosis that many children that have gender dysphoria, which may be as simply as going through a phase. So basically, they're saying that they're prescribing these things for children that are simply going through a phase. It is difficult to, go to school, public mean school. I went there. I knew I was probably a butthead too at different times. Yet I got teased a lot growing up. I can remember vividly being called Messy Jesse. And I remember this one kid called me Messy Jesse, and from then on, I was like, I will never be messy. I'm not going to be the stinky kid. I'm not going to be the dirty kid. I hit a husky stage in the 2nd grade and never grew out of it. Yet that husky stage put me through a 4-year university on athletic scholarship because I just refused to be called Messy Jesse. And I remember right where I was. I remember the swing set where he said it. I remember which swing he was on of the whole line of it. And it shocked me. And these kids, and that was just being called Messy Jesse. Can you imagine what it must have been like, or what it must be like for our young kids that have to battle these political and evil? It's evil. And they're warring. And we're putting that heavy load on children whose concrete has not hardened. And we're allowing them to identify and make decisions for themselves. It's warped and it's reprobate. And it should be stopped. And if we can't stop everything, we do it in our homes. We do it in our communities. We do it in our local schools if we can. Psalms 138, verse 14. And this is King David talking. And he says, I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. My soul knows very well how fearfully and wonderfully made. Just this machine right here. See this hand? Just this hand alone has so much. It's so special. And this is just one thing. They're trying to recreate this. They're trying to recreate a human hand and its dexterity and its ability. They haven't been able to recreate it. That's how fearfully and wonderfully we made our. Look, and I got 2 of them, and I can do all sorts of fun things. And so can you. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Our bodies are fearfully and wonderfully made. Start talking to the Lord right now. Don't miss this opportunity. The number one greatest prep that you can have if you have no money, if you have nothing to run to right now, if your shield is really small right now, pick up the one thing, which is faith that the Lord has plans to prosper you and not to harm you. And get into his word, start talking with him, and ask him for spiritual protection, for spiritual armor every day. If you're battling right now, if there's one thing you can gain for free as a child of the Most High God, is faith, the shield of faith. Ask for the whole armor daily. Ask the Lord where he's going to lead you. Holy Spirit's going to guide you. He's going to guide you, and I bless you today. If you've made it this part, 17 minutes, this is going to be a longer video for me. And I just have to tell you that there's some wild, weird stuff, and we're seeing the tip of the iceberg. And shields up. Get them up. Make sure that you're walking behind a shield of faith every day. And our physical shield is our preps, and we should be ensuring that we're loading down our pantries right now as best we can. We've seen nothing yet. What's getting ready to come is going to start this fall. It's going to start this fall. If you made it this far, would love to serve you more daily. If you haven't subscribed. I know I should be putting this at the front. So, Lord, influence somebody today, and may your word ring true in their ears. May they be encouraged. May we be able to pass this forward to others and encourage them that they are fearfully and wonderfully made, and that our hearts know it very well. Bless you guys today. Shielded Prepper is out.